Hello, I'm Alastair Penman and I'm here today thanks to Dorks Music with another one of our practice tips. And today I'm going to be talking about low notes on the saxophone. Low notes are probably one of the most difficult things on the saxophone. I have to say they're not my favourite thing in the world either, so I've had to practice these a lot, and I'm going to show you a few tips today to help get some really good low notes. First important thing to understand is kind of a little bit of the physics of how the saxophone works as to why these low notes are hard. So very simply, on the saxophone, when we're blowing air down it, the air will always come out of the first open hole that it can. So for example, if we're playing a C sharp and we're not pressing down any keys, the air actually only gets to about here, this first open vent, and then it comes out. So we're only filling that much of the saxophone with air. If we try and play a bottom B flat though, with all the keys shut, suddenly the air's got to get all the way around here, all the way down to the bottom, and then it comes out of the bell. And it's only on those lowest notes of the saxophone that the air actually comes out of the bell. It's a common misconception that all the sound comes out there, but that's only true on the low notes. Most of the time it's coming out kind of from the front section here. So what we can see is playing a bottom B flat compared with a C sharp takes probably at least 4 times as much air, and that's why it's difficult. We've got to get loads of air, and we also need that air to be going fast. Now, to get the air going fast, you often hear people saying support from the diaphragm. It's biologically not quite right, but I'm going to explain to you how it all works and how we can support. So essentially what happens is the lungs sit on top of the dome-shaped muscle called the diaphragm. The diaphragm sits like this, shaping the lungs above it, and as we breathe in, the lungs expand, the diaphragm moves out the way and makes space for the lungs to fill. And when you breathe in, if you see people kind of expanding outwards, what that is, that's actually the diaphragm moving down. It's pushing everything beneath the diaphragm is getting pushed out the way to make space for the lungs. So that expansion is not actually the air we're seeing, it's everything else getting pushed out the way to make room for the air in the lungs. But the problem we have with the diaphragm is the diaphragm as a muscle can only move in that direction. It hasn't actually got any strength to move back the other way, so that's why we can't actually push through the diaphragm. That muscle just doesn't do that. But what we do have is we have a ring of stomach muscles underneath the diaphragm, and we can use those to push the diaphragm back up, which in turn pushes on the lungs and squeezes the air out of the lungs, a bit like if you were playing a bagpipe, you're kind of squeezing the air out of the bagpipes. We're squeezing the air out of our lungs. So what we want to do is, with these stomach muscles, is we just want to gently tense them as we're playing, kind of engaging that core, and it will just push on the diaphragm, make sure we've got this constant kind of pressure, keeping the air coming out of our lungs nice and fast. So that's one really important thing to think of when you're playing, is kind of keep that pressure from all those stomach muscles, really supporting those muscles to get the air going nice and fast. Now, the next thing we want to think of, now we thought about supporting to get that air fast, is what our embouchure is doing. And a big problem that a lot of people have with playing low notes is they're scared of low notes. And what that means is as soon as they go through a low note, they tense up. They're worried it's not going to speak, so we tense. And that includes, you see the shoulders tense up, and also the embouchure tenses. And what happens is the bottom lip tends to squeeze up, and that makes the note jump up. And what that means, instead of getting this nice open sound, what you hear is, if I do that but tense up, you go, and you hear it kind of all wants to jump up the octave. So you've got to almost trick yourself into thinking that low notes are easy, persuade yourself to keep that nice and relaxed. There is a good trick to practice keeping that relaxed, which is to practice playing with what's called a double lip embouchure. And this is where we put our lip on the top of the mouthpiece rather than our teeth. And that's how oboe and bassoon players play. And what this does is, when we tense up, what tends to happen is our bottom teeth bite up. And what they're biting against is the pressure from our top teeth on top of the mouthpiece. But if we take our top teeth off the mouthpiece, there's nothing for the bottom teeth to bite against, so they can't. There's kind of no way for them to squeeze up and bite. And if you're someone who gets a sore lip, sore bottom lip when you play the saxophone, this is almost certainly a problem with the bottom teeth biting up. And practicing with a double lip will really help this. The way you do it is you just lift, if you form your normal embouchure, then lift your top teeth about 1 millimetre off the mouthpiece, so it's your top lip in contact there. When you first do this, you'll find it really unstable and quite hard to balance the saxophone. It's particularly hard on soprano, in fact, compared with the other instruments. But you'll find it's quite hard to balance at first, and you'll find your top lip gets really tired. I wouldn't do this for more than about 5 minutes at first. But over time, your top lip will get stronger and stronger. And then when you go back to playing with your normal embouchure, what you find is your top lip supports and your bottom teeth won't be trying to bite up anymore. So I'll just show you how it looks and how it sounds. If I form my normal embouchure, just lift my top teeth about 1 millimetre off, and then I'm going to play that B flat major scale down to the bottom. Okay. And for me, you hear the sound isn't that different, which is because I've practiced a lot with that double lip embouchure. At first, you'll find the sound is quite wobbly with that embouchure, but it will gradually get stronger and stronger, and it'll help build the strength. When you're practicing this, if you can't get down to bottom B flat first, don't worry, just play down as far as you can, practice holding the lowest note you're comfortable with, get that note really, really good. Then when you come back the next time, try going a semitone lower, then a semitone lower the next time, and so on, and you'll quickly find your way down to the bottom of the sax comfortably. So there are two really important things to think of. You've got your air support, you've got keeping the embouchure relaxed. You can try the double lip embouchure for that. The final thing I want to talk quickly about today is the throat position. One thing sax players have a tendency to do is to have their sling too low, so they're almost looking down at the saxophone like this. And it's particularly bad for soprano players, actually, just because of the weight of the soprano, you end up looking down. What that does is, as you look down, it closes off the throat, and you can hear as I talk, if I talk looking downwards, the sound's slightly muffled. And as I lift my head up, the throat opens up and it's a much clearer, more projected sound. And if you watch professional singers, you'll never see them with their head down. They're always looking at least straight ahead, if not slightly upwards. And we want to get this feeling of an open throat when we're playing. One of my favourite ways to do that is if you imagine the sensation of yawning when you're playing, or saying kind of, oh, it kind of just opens everything up, and we want to maintain that feeling to get the air going really fast, lots of air down the instrument. A really good way to get that feeling is to actually play and deliberately lift your head upwards, because when you've got your head lifted upwards, that automatically opens our throat for us. And you might notice sometimes if you ever see pop and rock players playing, kind of really going through it, playing really loud, really high notes, they will actually lift their head up as they're playing. And I know people think it's just an act to kind of look cool on stage, but that act of lifting it up does open the throat and it helps those notes. So if you hear, if I play with my head up, it's a really nice clear sound, whereas if I try and do that with my sling low, looking down, you hear a kind of a more muffled sound, and at the bottom it wants to jump up. So that's something else really to look out for as you're playing. So hopefully that's given you a few things to try to help you on your way with playing low notes. So key takeaway points are keep supporting, just keep tensing those stomach muscles to keep that level of support. Then we also want to keep the embouchure relaxed, keep the shoulders relaxed, have a go at that double lip embouchure, and finally try and keep your throat open as you're playing.